There's a photo of the school that is what it's going to look like. We've spent the last year trying to plan within an inch of its life the building so that it suits our youngest children, but obviously, as you know, it is an all-through school, which for a head teacher is a really exciting venture. And you may sit there worrying with your little ones thinking, how is that going to work? Well, Mr. Shotton will talk you through that. Okay, so who are inspiring futures through learning? I started IFTL in 2016. My school was Two Mile Ash School, which was an outstanding junior school, and we'd had a long time of doing school support and school improvement work with other schools where we would support turning around the schools so that we really believe that every child should be given the best chance that they can have. We were also a teacher training establishment, so we very much believe in professional development for teachers, and therefore if you get it right by the teachers and the staff, then our children are looked after. So we started the trust as one school, and we very quickly gained two others. How you acquire brand new schools now is you have to compete for them, and you have to give a good track record of the work that you've done. So if you are from Milton Keynes, Whitehouse and Fairfields over the other side are both our schools, two brand new 679 pupils in both schools. And so we're very well averse of how you grow a school from nothing to being an established school. We then acquired three more schools, so the two only schools, only infants and only juniors, and also Chestnuts in Bletchley are our schools. And we also then have three schools in Corby, and we've got Glebe Farm is our 15th school. So what I hope, the reason I'm telling you that is I really hope you can see that we have a long track record of good school improvement work and school effectiveness work, so that your child, should you wish to come to us, will be very well looked after. And we do a lot of work across the schools, so we're not isolated, because one of the things that we found with Whitehouse and Fairfields, there was a pupil admission number for reception in year 1 and year 2 of 5 children per class. So that was really, really difficult. I was saying the other day, on that first Christmas, you had, with 5 children, you had Mary, Joseph and the 3 wise men were sometimes one person because we didn't have enough children to go round. But what is critical is that you make sure that the children have that good school experience, and we're able to use the other schools within the trust to create that football team and to do the things that you would expect, a class of 30 to have. Glebe Farm is starting with 30 children in reception, year 1 and year 2, so hopefully we won't have that issue going forward. We're also a trust that works very closely with our partnerships, and we have got big relationships with lots of other trusts. The most prominent one for this school is our relationship with 5 Dimensions Trust, which is Shenley, Brookend and Hazley. Because what you'll see from the other schools that we have in our trust, they are all primary. We have a really secure track record in primary, and now we're entering into more of the secondary phase, and we're using partners from across the trust to support from across Milton Keynes to support us in that. Because it's always been our vision that when you have children at such a young age and you nurture them and you give them that real love and care and support as they go through, and you wrap more and more around them, you get to year 6 and then you lose them. And what we want to do is to make sure that that primary feel continues as you go through to the secondary phase. But obviously with secondary education you've got the specialist teachers who will be able to use to support us in the primary subject knowledge, etc. So it really it's a really exciting venture for all of us. So these are the people we're working with. It's very important for us that we're working with St Mary's in Wavendon, because obviously, as you know, that is a school that has a primary catchment as well. And what we don't want are children from that school to feel like outsiders when they eventually come to our school, to Glebe Farm in year 7. And we wanted to be able to do a lot of primary work with them so that the children feel like one united bunch when they come through. Wappington Parish Council we're also working with. We've created really strong links there because there'll be a lot of leasing out of the fields, etc. Because again, we believe in the community and we want our children to be able to come back at all times of the day and the evening to be able to access the amazing resources that we've got there. We're also working very closely with Milton Keynes Council because Milton Keynes Council are the people that are building the school. We've talked very much about what we want in the school, but they will hand over the school when it's built. So it's really great for us. They're doing all the dirty stuff, and then we will have a bright, shiny school, and we will create the school, and that's what we're doing at the moment. So again, in terms of the trust, this is how we've grown over a period of time, and we've had a very quick growth. So we now have, it's more than that now, about 6,000 pupils in our trust and over 800 members of staff. And again, that is relevant to you just because you can see that this is not a one school standing on its own. You know, it's brand new, that there's just one main man, and then we'll gain the resources. We've got a whole team sitting behind Matthew and his increasing team now, so that when we do open in September, we'll be able to hit the ground running. And just one last thing for me. These are our values that is across all our schools in the trust. And although each school is very different in its own way, and so it should be, the context of different communities is very different. However, we have core values and beliefs that we feel are really important to be able to come through each school. And you'll see our values there. Every member of staff, every child knows these values, and they are basic characteristics of good people, and people who have fun in their workplace, if you're a child or an adult, but also that, we are strong together. We've got lots of energy, what you'll see if you went to any of our schools, and that is something that you may decide to do when you choose which school for your child now. You might want to see one of our schools in action, and you'd be more than welcome to go and see that. But what we want is real, fun, vibrant children who have a real love and zest for learning, as you will find the teachers. These teachers for us are going to be hand-picked. We had a recruitment evening last week, 2 weeks ago, I can't remember, time goes. But the excitement for teachers coming into this and seeing that this is a blank canvas, but we've got an awful lot of experience and energy and commitment to this, and it is going to be pretty special. We say it's the first authentic all-through school in Milton Keynes, and that's because it's the first one that's under one roof. And we've positioned things that the chemistry lab is not far away from the Year 6 block. So Year 6 children will be able to go and do, experience that more specialist learning. Now, I know that's way off for you guys, but that is something that you obviously will have to think about. This is about hearts and mind stuff. The academic stuff, we've got a huge track record for this, but you choosing this, you making this decision is one of the biggest decisions that you will make for your child. So you've got to get it right. There's a school for everyone, and you've got to feel if the ethos that we are sharing today is the one that suits you best. So I'll pass you over to Mr. Shotton, who will go into a bit more detail about himself and the school.
Thank you, Mrs. Bennett. I think the first thing we'll do is just start by taking a little virtual tour of the building itself. There was a drone. Morgan Sindel kindly set up a drone for us to be able to see what the site and the size of the school, the sheer size of the school. But then what we're going to do is talk about what happens inside. It's quite impressive, isn't it, when you see it like that? And I think the thing for me that always amazes me is, how something starts off with just bricks and mortar and how it evolves and develops very, very quickly. So the first thing I'll do, guys, is give you a little bit of a background as to who I am. And this picture here really, the first one is a picture of the Rhondda Valleys in South Wales. That's where I was born and raised. And there's a picture of myself in a trike. I had Perthes disease of the hip. And the reason why I put that picture up there, for no other reason other than I know lots of parents nowadays are concerned around, you know, what if school doesn't support my child? What if my child has additional needs? What will the school do to support my child, to make sure that my child gets the best opportunities? And the reality is, the reason why I put that is because I will be your biggest advocate and I will be your biggest champion, having been a child that's gone through the education system where my grandmother had to battle and grandfather had to battle so hard to keep me in mainstream education for what I went through as a child. I can see absolutely why it's so important. So when it comes to those conversations, I need you to know and be reassured that that is absolutely my single most priority. So in 2012, I decided to leave South Wales and move to Milton Keynes. And it was to take up an assistant headship or an assistant principal role at a school in Milton Keynes, Orchard Academy. When I first got to the academy, the school had received a letter saying that it was in the worst 200 performing schools in England. So you can appreciate there was lots of work to do. And with a real strong leadership team and the support and the work from another local school, we managed to, in 18 months, in a very short period of time, we managed to get that school to be a good, Ofsted graded good school with outstanding features. And the reason why I share that is because that talks around, you know, from a school improvement, when we talk around priorities, what it is we're about. I just wanted to share where my journey started. And then following that, I become the head teacher of Fairfields Primary School, which is on the western flank of Milton Keynes near Stony Stratford. I've been there since 2017, but then in 2019 had the opportunity to work as an executive head supporting a school in Corby that was also experiencing difficulties, and that has again added to my skill set and supported me in my journey. But we're not here today to talk about those schools. We're here today to talk about Glebe Farm, and what an amazing, and I know that Mrs. Bennett alluded to it being the authentic, and we use that word authentic, but I think ultimately what we mean by that is it's an all-through school under one roof, and how amazing that will be. When we think about transitions and when we think about the challenges that our children have to face, you know, the first point of entry into a school in reception or nursery can be daunting, and to know that then you potentially will never have to face, or a child will never have to face those transitions again, will be really, really reassuring. So when we talk about culture and we talk about your moral compass, for me, you know, it's really, really important that we set out our stall from day one. And we will be a school that will have high expectations. We will be very driven. You know, what we're aspiring to be is an ambitious school with a strong sense of belonging, with creativity at the heart. That is something that we will be establishing right from the very first steps. But I'm a big believer in we can't do it on our own. It takes a village to raise a child. This is where we will be creating really, really strong partnerships and relationships with you as parents and also with other community members. You know, we want our school to be the beating heart of this new and growing community. And for me, it's going to be an establishment. I've always had this vision that the lights don't go out at 3:30, 4 o'clock at the end of a school day. That actually we're a hive of activity. There's something happening in the school at all times, whether that's for parents of an evening, extended clubs for students, then we've got other members coming in. It's going to be a school that is going to be at the heart of its community. We are going to consider ourselves to be a family, and I fully appreciate that the family will start off relatively small, but also as we grow over the years, we will not lose that family ethos and that family feel. And that's something that will really be cemented in our culture of caring, nurturing the best, and looking out for each other. We will be the hub for community support, a hub of community activities, support and nurture. I'm a big believer in theraplay and how we use attachment styles in our practice support to support some of our most vulnerable and to support some of our children that really need that nurture, care, love and attention. And I know that from your point of view, you know, we had an open evening with Year 7 parents, and they were concerned about what secondary life is going to be like. But they've already experienced school, so they already have an understanding of what schools or how schools operate. To you guys, this could be the very first time that you're engaging in a school and what that is going to look like. This is about you having that absolute understanding, clarity of what will school look like? What will the school be like for my child? And ultimately, as a brand new school, you know, we have to be a school striving for innovation. We want to be an innovative school that will inspire future generations. We're in the process now as a trust at looking at a one-to-one digital device strategy that we will be able to enable all children throughout the school access to a digital device that will potentially bring their learning and learning in a different way, and learning that will engage and inspire future generations. What this slide is telling us is unfortunately, if we look at this example here, that happens a lot in schools today. And essentially, the rich are getting richer and the poorer are getting poorer. And what we mean by that is that not all children get the same level playing field. And what we want to do and what we will be as a school is a school that is striving for the second diagram, which is we will be creating opportunities for all children. We will be setting the expectation that all children have to be able to reach the fruit. Whatever that fruit is to them on an individual basis, but it's about equal opportunities, it's about equity, it's about children not being left behind, not being disadvantaged. We will do whatever we can to support them to make sure they get the very best opportunities so that they can compete, so that they can feel successful, so that they learn to be courageous, they have resilience. Those are the skills and attributes we want for our young people. Again, I talked about attachment theory and John Bowlby being a clinical psychologist and how he talked about how children and why trauma impacts so much on children. But the reality beyond all this is that you don't have to be a clinical psychologist to make a genuine difference to children and children's lives. All you have to do is care. And for me, I think this is so powerful that every member of staff that will work at Glebe Farm will be, as Mrs. Bennett said, handpicked. And what that means is they will be tested on what their moral compass is, what their vision is for children, and how does that marry and how does that closely link up to what my vision is. And ultimately my vision is that every child deserves a champion and that we will be there no matter what to support the children. And that is why it's so important, and that is why when we talk about entering school for the first time, whether that be into reception or whether it's joining us in year 1 or year 2 or even into year 7, the thing that's going to be different about Glebe Farm is the nurture, the care, the love and the attention that each and every child will have, regardless of their age. And I am a big advocate that sometimes we get to secondary and we think that that child who came to us in reception year 1 and year 2, who we put their arms around them then because that's what they needed, and they transitioned into junior school and we did it there as well. But it's less and less it happens when you get into secondary. And that's ultimately what we're going to be about. We want to be that school that can genuinely be there regardless of whatever challenges, whatever barriers these children are facing every day. We will be there to pick up the pieces for them. We will be there to support them and nurture them so that they can feel safe and that they feel that they're in the best possible hands. Peter Pearson's quote there, that every child deserves a champion, but she also says something else, and I think it's the next quote, or the other quote that she says is the one that I love more than anything, and it says, children don't learn from adults they don't like. And how powerful is that? You know, it's all about relationships and connections. If we don't have that relationship and connection with children, then they're not going to learn. So it's about creating that climate for learning. It's about setting really clear, loving and trusting, open and honest relationships. And then everything else will fall into place. And that's when we can then focus on the academic and the learning. So linking back to the comment I made about the team, I genuinely believe it's about having the right team that's going to make the difference for the students and the children at Glebe Farm and for the community as well. You know, We will be setting expectations that staff will be supporting all community events, that they'll be there to support children on a Saturday at cross country, that they'll be there to support if we had a firework display, if we were having a lantern making session, wreath making session over Christmas. The expectation is that you would see that staff will be buying in, because it's about, again, that commitment to the community as well as the children in the school. This next slide is ultimately a slide that I think is really powerful, and it talks about, you know, when those moments would present themselves, I was more prepared and ready than anyone else, because from preparation comes confidence. And I suppose, you know, I'm going to ask two ambassadors from Fairfields Primary School to come and talk to you in a minute, but this quote here, I suppose, when I think of this, I naturally think of these students here. And as a head teacher, if somebody said to me, so what's the thing that excites you most about Glebe Farm, is I'm losing year 6 at the end of this academic year. They transition on to another secondary school. But how amazing is it that they're not transitioning from a primary school, that they will continue with us right the way through to their 16. So those relationships and connections that have started from 3, 4, 5 years of age goes right the way through to 16. So I'll leave this slide up while I invite Nena and Alicia to come to the stage, and they're just going to share with you their journey at Fairfields Primary School.
Good evening. I am Nena, a Year 6 student at Fairfields Primary School. I've been part of the Fairfields family since its inception. There were only a few of us then. Under the impeccable leadership of Mr. Shotton, I've seen my school flourish year on year, and now we have over 400 students. What I love the most about my school is that my teachers have always encouraged me to reach my full potential, and now I've got the confidence to be up here on the stage. I take pride in saying that with a strong community spirit, my school has become the beating heart of Fairfield in just 4 years. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Alicia and I'm a Year 6 student from Fairfields Primary School. Here in Fairfields, we offer a plethora of extracurricular activities. These enable us to use our skills in a wider context beyond the classroom. My favourite thing about my school is that I can feel safe throughout my school day, whether it's in my classroom, on the playground or online. Thank you for listening.
So when we talk about standing on stage, you know, I came in here today, we've done this in a range of venues now from different school halls, but just walking down here and standing up on stage and in front of you guys, it's, believe it or not, it's a daunting place to be. But for 2 10 and 11-year-olds to stand in front of you today and give that, it just goes to show about what we're about. And Fairfields is Fairfields, but Glebe Farm will be no different. That is ultimately what we will be striving for. It's about creating opportunities that our children can become confident and resilient individuals so that they can go on to be successful in whatever that looks like. So when we talk curriculum, you know, we will be offering a broad and balanced curriculum with a range of subjects, but the most important thing I need you to know is that we value the importance of play and play-based learning. We talk about continuous provision, and it scared me in the beginning when I went into Fairfields Primary School and I had the opportunity to start from fresh, and it'll be the same at Glebe. The opportunity to start fresh in a nursery and reception classroom. What's it going to look like? And I was very much of the opinion we need to have 30 chairs and tables, children need to be sat down. And I remember visiting lots of different settings, and I suppose it was at that point that I learned very, very quickly that children sitting at a table only gives you an illusion that they're learning. It gives you sometimes a false illusion that they're actually really engaged in what it is they're doing. So we won't have that at Glebe. We will be looking at a continuous provision. We'll be looking at a provision where children, all their learning is initiated by them. And what we will have is skilled and trained adults who know what the characteristics of effective learning look like and be able to support the children with their next steps in their learning. This is a provision that I believe so strongly in now, having seen children that have gone through that provision, having accessed learning in a variety of ways where they can explore, where they can dress up, where they can explore themselves in whatever, whether it's small world, whether it's in construction. It's around what challenges and targets. It's about us as adults knowing where we're taking the learning, but it's up to the children to drive what they enjoy. And that is something that ultimately will be at the heart. But what I'm really passionate about is that won't stop at reception. The whole point of this provision then is grows with us right the way through to 16. Because ultimately what we want is to see that this becomes the output from what is the input. And we will have students who will be so disciplined in themselves that they'll know and understand the importance of work ethic and understand the importance of what effective practice looks like, that it doesn't matter whether they sat at a table in a formal setting, it's about them being productive. And I think that for me is, I'm looking at classrooms full of high energy, a buzz for learning, children that are walking around with real smiles on their faces, and they are absolutely engrossed in any and every activity that they are involved in. And mainly because they've chosen those activities. And I remember going into a class not so long ago, and there was a cardboard box, and there was 2 children sat in the cardboard box, and I said to them, what are we doing this afternoon? And they were on a ship, and they were going off to the Caribbean, and they were going because they'd had enough of the cold weather, and they were going, and they had all these plans, and they had in the back of this cardboard box, they had ready to build a shelter, and that was amazing. Their imagination, they were off. And you just got to go with it. Even though you look at it sometimes and think, well, okay, if that's good for you, you've just got to go with it. Go with the flow. So I think, well, I'm going to share that picture again, because, when we think of this building, naturally it's a large building, but what you will appreciate very early on, as soon as you come in, as soon as we get the keys and you start to feel what school is like, you'll start to appreciate that actually inside, and that's what really matters, inside, we will be so working closely together. That's where the relationships and the connections will be so important. I've written some values that we will be really, really critical at Glebe, and I genuinely believe that when we think about these core values here, you could argue as an adult that, of those values, what are not important? Because I genuinely believe that if we've got children that leave us at the age of 16 to go on to whatever it is they do next, but deep-rooted, they have integrity, they have responsibility, they're brave, they know that they won't give up, have that real drive and endeavour to be better than they were perhaps last week, or they change their mindset, or I made a mistake, I'll reflect on that, I can do this, and have empathy for others. So they are the core values that will be at Glebe Farm. And I think for me, when we talk about integrity, it's about teaching children from a very, very young age. It's about doing the right thing when nobody's watching. And then I suppose at Glebe, we will develop the characteristics of all our values through what I consider to be quite a creative curriculum. So we will have the STEAM, which is your science, technology, engineering and maths. And I know you're there sat as they're thinking, well, isn't that secondary? Absolutely not. In fact, I've seen that taught most effectively in a reception class where they are absolutely engrossed in everything that they do. I've seen them working as mechanics and putting cars back together and stripping cars down. They have the real pleasure in taking iPads apart. Okay, we haven't quite got there yet in fixing them, but we do enjoy taking them apart and exploring all the little bits that sit within an iPad. The arts, it's about children expressing themselves on stage, whether it be in an art and design lab. Just because they're in reception doesn't mean they can't access those provisions. That's what we will be encouraging. We will want our children to access those provisions that probably was beyond them, beyond imaginable for lots of primary children until they venture into secondary. And then for me, more importantly, is about that, bringing that technology, bringing that innovation, allowing children to explore with different media so that they can access the world, the 21st century curriculum. And then obviously, more importantly, it's about them understanding Milton Keynes, it's about them understanding, you know, we are going to be a sustainable school, you know, we're net carbon zero, we won't have any gas coming into the school, everything will be electric. And how amazing is that as a provision? However, we need to educate our young children that it's okay having a net carbon zero school that is energy efficient, but we also need to be energy efficient in our own being as well, and we need to be looking at reducing our carbon footprint. Lots of exciting initiatives, from allotment, from seed to plate, from planting trees, everything we do to mitigate risk and to show that we are real champions for tomorrow. So that, again, will be a real priority for us at Glebe Farm. So that is the end of the formal presentation, but if you do have any questions, I'll be hanging around here now, so if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to come and ask. But I hope that that's given you a little bit of a flavour of what life at Glebe Farm would look like. And I genuinely mean this, that, you know, from your point of view, I understand that this naturally would be quite an unnervy time, because obviously there's nothing there yet other than just a building. But you need to know that the people in the building will be the right people, will have the right heart, the right passion to do wonders with your children. So I very much hope to see you all in September, and thank you very much for coming this afternoon. Thank you.